Far, far away, the rattlesnake was buzzing. Short burst, time to run, time to run, time, screamed Henry. The Jelly Belly was sitting on his head. Jose and Angel, chattering in Spanish, were jumping on his stomach. Mr. Donatelli was sitting on his legs, shouting, "Shift your weight! Shift your weight!" Then they all disappeared and let him alone, lying on the linoleum kitchen floor in a pool of ice-cold sweat. The telephone was ringing. He crawled over to it and fumbled with the receiver. The phone crashed to the floor. "Yeah? Alfred? Aunt Pearl?" "You all right, Alfred? You sound so strange." "All right." "I can't hear you." "Just woke up." "It's 9:30, Alfred." "Slept late." "It's 9:30 at night." "Oh, went to sleep early. Training." "That's good. Now listen, Alfred. Mrs. Elverson's gonna need me to come stay up here till Thursday." "Okay." "You still there, Alfred?" "Yeah." "Now you call Dorothy in the morning before they go to church. Tell her I'll pick up the girls Thursday night. You got that?" "Thursday night." "Right. There's no answer there now. They must be at the movies. You sure all right, Alfred?" "Fine and dandy." "Now don't forget, Alfred. Thursday night." "Right. Bye now." "Bye." He stumbled into the front room and turned on the television set. He passed out before the picture appeared. He woke up once to go to the bathroom, and a cowboy was standing on top of a speeding stagecoach shooting Indians. He passed out again in the bathroom. When he dragged himself back, the television was humming behind a flickering test pattern. He fell into the couch. He awoke to organ music. There was a picture of Jesus in long white robes on the screen, and the words, "Dawn Devotional," under his feet. Vaguely, he remembered that he had to call Dorothy about something, but his body was fastened to the couch. His arms were too heavy to lift. The conga drums were pounding in his head. It seemed like hours before he was able to lift his head, hours more before he could move his arms and legs. Slowly, he stood up. The organ music was swelling. He staggered into the kitchen. The clock on the cabinet was ticking off the last few seconds to 7 o'clock. With hands as clumsy as boxing gloves, he fumbled a pot out of the stove and filled it with water. He dozed while it boiled away. The smell of the burning pot jerked him awake. He started all over again, spilling the instant coffee powder. It was nearly 8 before he had the black coffee in a cup. It was hot and bitter, but it washed away the sandy cotton in his mouth. The telephone rang. "You ready, champ?" "What?" "Got us a car, Alfred. We're going out to Coney Island, remember?" "Major?" "Yeah, man. Be in front of the house in 5 minutes." "Don't feel right." "Ocean air, champ. Best thing for you." "No, Major hung up. A wave of sickness washed up from his stomach. "Good morning, kitty clumbers. It's Uncle Harry." He rushed in and snapped off the set just as a fat man with a false nose began pouring cornflakes into the screen. Alfred made more coffee. He gulped it black and boiling. Mr. Donatelli said never have more than 1 cup a day, if that much. Smart meat Donatelli knows it all. I ought to call him up and get a program for hangovers. Outside, a car horn sounded short, sharp blast. He poured a 3rd cup of coffee. Someone pounded on the door. "Hollis? We're waiting on you, Alfred." "Look, come on, man. You need a break. Been working too hard." Alfred let Hollis lead him downstairs. On the street, Major waved him into the red leather front seat of a white Cadillac convertible. Hollis climbed into the back with Sony and a younger boy Alfred had seen around the neighborhood. "Whose car is this?" "Mine," said Major, jerking it away from the curb with a screech of gears. "Loaned it off a guy." They cruised along the streets, past families dressed for church and winos stumbling out of alleys into the bright morning sunlight. Major lounged behind the wheel, guiding the big car with the fingertips of his right hand. His left arm dangled out, slapping the door in time to the music blaring from a car radio. "Now this is something, ain't it?" He grinned at Alfred. "Yeah." Major took his hand off the wheel and plucked a pair of tinted sunglasses out of his t-shirt pocket. While he was slipping them on, the car veered toward a young couple crossing the street. They scrambled back to the sidewalk. "Wake up!" yelled Major, laughing, grabbing the wheel and straightening the car. People watched the Cadillac cruise past. Look at them, wish themselves into the car, Alfred thought. Phony cats with long playing records under their arms and no machine to play them on. Just hanging around, waiting for something to happen. He leaned back into the red leather. The car picked up speed, swinging onto a highway. Off to the right, the Hudson River lay blue, green, and quiet, glinting under the sun. Small boats churned through the water. "Now there's some living," said Hollis, leaning forward. "I'll own one of them sometime," said Major. "Hear there's some real parties on those boats," said Hollis. "You ever know a black man got one of them?" asked Major. "No." "They won't let you park it," said Major. "Even if you bought one, you couldn't park it just to have to keep going up and down the river. They don't get you one way, they get you another. Right, Alfred?" "If you say so." Major laughed. "You all right, Alfred." The highway narrowed into a tunnel, and Major yelled. "Toll booth!" Stretched his left arm toward the back seat. "Got no change, Major," said the younger boy. "Only dollar bills." "They take dollar bills," said Major. He slowed for the toll booth, took the boy's dollar, and paid. He pocketed the change. Coney Island was hot and noisy. The streets off the boardwalk choked with boys and girls, black and white and black, marching up and down, looking each other over. Alfred began to feel cramps in his stomach at the mingled smells of cotton candy, barbecue, fried chicken, and hot dogs. He realized that he hadn't eaten since Friday lunch, nearly 2 full days ago. He heard distant screams from the thundering roller coaster. Up ahead, a huge Ferris wheel spun slowly against the blue sky. Major double-parked in front of an outdoor stand. "Go and get some food, Justin. Dogs, french fries, some of that sweet corn. You go help him carry it, Sonny." "Carry it," said Sonny, climbing out. "Mustard on the dogs, Major?" asked Justin. "Everything on the dogs." Major leaned back in the seat, his arms behind his head.
Which of these should I use for us?
"We'll get us some food. Go find us some pretty little foxes. You got that bottle, Hollis?" "Cops," said Hollis. Major and Alfred turned. 2 policemen were moving toward them, checking driver's licenses and registration papers along the row of double-block parked cars. "Don't need that," said Major, starting the car. "You steal this car?" asked Alfred. "Gonna return it," said Hollis. His words were lost in the sudden roar of the engine. Major jerked the car into traffic. The policeman began to run, shouting as Major stomped on the accelerator and pounded the horn at people crossing the street. A baby carriage rolled up in front of the car, and Major slammed on the brakes. "Let's get it out of here." Alfred vaulted over the door into the gutter, landing hard on his right foot. The ankle twisted under him, and he went to his knees, but he got up and plunged into the crowd on the sidewalk, pushing through. Keep moving, keep moving." He ducked his head at the police whistle and rounded a corner, slamming into a hard chest, and a hand cuffed him on the head. Keep moving, and then he was on the boardwalk, and he slowed down, the ankle beginning to throb, and he let himself be carried along in the flowing crowd. He walked until every step on his right foot sent a shaft of pain up through his ankle. He sat down on a bench. Thousands of people were jammed together on the bench. He could hardly see the sand. Men and women lay stretched out on blankets. Guys with good builds swaggered among the blankets and umbrellas, slowing down and sucking their stomachs whenever they passed girls. Babies cried over the noise of transistors. He started walking again until he found a food stand. He bought spare ribs, buttered corn, french fries, and a Pepsi-Cola. "Worst things you can eat," said Donatelli. Alfred gobbled it down as fast as he could. A moment later, he was hanging over the boardwalk rail, vomiting. "Disgusting," said a voice behind him. "Poor kid. A junkie trying to beat it with food. Just can't do it. You just can't." He got away from there as fast as his ankle would let him, stumbling along with the crowd. Shoes kicked at the back of his feet whenever he slowed down. His body itched from streaming sweat. His shirt and pants were damp. He got off the boardwalk and limped along the strange Brooklyn streets. Every time he passed a policeman, he lowered his head and held his breath. He found a movie house along a wide avenue and went right inside without bothering to find out what was playing. The theater was cool and his stomach quieted down. He bought an ice cream cup and pressed the frosty paper container against his cheeks and temples until the fever in his face disappeared. The ice cream melted, and it went down easily and stayed down. He had another and began to feel better. He watched the movie. Handsome, well-dressed white men got in and out of fancy cars with beautiful blonde women. For a while he tried to follow the picture, then gave it up. "You all right, Alfred? Thanks, Major. Thanks a lot. How long ago now? A month? 2 months? Not the last time Major used his fists and feet to bust me up. This time he..." Don't blame him, man. He didn't pour all that stuff into you at the party. You did that. He didn't put a knife in your throat and make you take a ride. You got in the car. Major was just being friendly. I'll bet, said Henry, if they don't get you one way, they get you another. He stumbled, blinking, back into the hot street. It was like walking through an invisible curtain. He walked for a long time before he found a subway station. On the platform, people moved away from him, wrinkling their noses. He noticed there was dried vomit on his sneakers. It was early evening before he got back to Harlem. The nationalist speakers were on their stepladders, screaming into the dying sun. Tomorrow, Monday morning! You wake up, check the baby to see if the rats bit its ears off. You said it, brother. Then you going down to meet the man. Brooksy, hey Brooksy, want to talk to you. Heard you been. He crossed the street, not even bothering to pretend that he hadn't heard Harold. I heard you, smart meat, now get lost. This happy little darky just ain't interested. He walked aimlessly for hours. His ankle throbbed again, but he kept moving. Hungry-eyed faces filled the street corners, waiting for something to happen. Only a few hours left in the weekend, brother. If the action don't come, it'll be another 5 days before you can get back on your street corner and start waiting again. He suddenly realized he was on the familiar block of low apartment buildings, a storefront church, a delicatessen, a pawn shop, and on the corner a bar. The door leading upstairs was slightly open as usual. A dim light flickered through the dirty plate glass window on the third floor. He stared at it for a long time. Then he went home. The telephone was ringing as he came through the door. Where you been, Alfred? Major. Thought they got you. No, Listen, man, I don't think there's gonna be no trouble, but if anybody asks you where you was today, we was all over your house playing cards. Got that? Playing cards. Right. You do anything now? Yeah. He hung up. He filled the bathtub with hot water and stripped off his shoe and sock. The ankle was swollen and soft to the touch. He sat on the edge of the tub and soaked his foot. Couldn't run tomorrow if I wanted to, he thought, as if I wanted to. Knock your brains out, bust your back, run your feet down to the bone. What for? The man said. Nothing's promised you. We know that. He lay on his aunt's bed with his clothes on and closed his eyes. It seemed as if it was only a minute later when they opened again. A pink dawn. Running time. His ankle was a little stiff, but the swelling was gone. No pain. He started up, then lay back. Don't need that foolishness. Ain't gonna be a boxer anyway. Run for nothing. The birds are gonna have to get along without old Alfred. Ben Epstein winked at him when he came into the store. How was your weekend, Alfred? Real fine. One long party, eh? Yeah, you know. The day dragged on and on. He sorted the new crates, stacked the canned goods, lugged the filthy garbage pails out back. His muscles felt sore. He went straight home after work and opened a can of pork and beans. He didn't even bother to cook it. Cold and greasy, each spoonful dropped to the pit of his stomach and lay there. The phone rang. You all right, Alfred? Aunt Dorothy? Just talked to Pearl. She said she was surprised you didn't call us yesterday. Not like you, Alfred. I'm sorry, I forgot. All that exercising must really tire you out. Come on out to dinner tomorrow night. Been so long since you've been here. Well, maybe. Jeff's here. You can talk with Jeff, and I'm sorry, Aunt Dorothy. I got something else to do. You're gonna wear yourself out, all that exercising and running. Take a break and come on out. Jeff won't be home again till Thanksgiving. I can't. Well, you know you're always welcome. Thanks. He went into the front room and stretched out on the couch. That's all I got to do. Go listen to Jeff count up all his opportunities for advancement. Take a break, Hollis said that too. Yeah, I'll take a break. About this time, old Uncle Alfred would be beating at the air in front of a mirror or skipping rope. Like a fool. Good thing nobody ever looked at me much up in that gym, or they'd fall over laughing. He turned on the television and watched it until he couldn't keep his eyes open. Then he slept. Tuesday dragged along too. That must have been some weekend, said Ben, winking. Sure.